So now we're going to again get in that mindset of output and where we want this image to go. The image we just formatted for TIFF was for print, and it's going to go to an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Remember, that's at 300 pixels per inch for its resolution. At the image dimension that we need for that size of paper. Now, that's just kind of a standard size paper. I chose it because it's in general a step up from what would be your kind of photo album pictures, and would most likely be that next step that you would take before maybe going much bigger than that. Now, you have that TIFF for print, but I'm going to take us back to using our PSD to get us to web, all right, to getting to that web JPEG size that we want. And we want to downsize because we've been progressively going down in our image size, literally taking pixels out of that image by either shrinking the dimensions, or now we're going to shrink the dimensions in pixels, but also take out some of that resolution as well. So we're doing that because we want our web JPEGs to be very portable. We want them to load quickly on the web. We want them to open up as fast as possible. And we also want to save file size because screens and the resolution of most screens are going to only max out at 72 pixels per inch anyway. So there's no need to have that 300 pixels per inch. So that taken into account, I want to show you how to go from your PSD and to skip that TIFF print if you want to and go straight to that web JPEG and do that safely without overwriting any files. So I've reopened our PSD file. I'm here in Photoshop. I've got all those original layers and edits that I made, and I'm at that max width and height in pixels for my resolution and 300 pixels per inch. So this is the original file, that raw file taken to edit form and saved as a PSD, and I haven't changed any size or dimensions because I want to maintain safely those edits that I've made so I can come back and do other things with it if I need to. Now, before I talked a lot about saving first in that format that you want to go to and doing that first as a safe way to do things. You can do that now if you'd like. You can go File, Save As, and save this as a JPEG if you'd like, or we can go directly to saving as for JPEG through another means of duplicating this file. Okay, so we're going to duplicate basically the image and open it up automatically as a separate image that then we can save for web. So rather than talk about it, let me show you. Over here, I'm going to open up a new layer in this PSD. You can do that down here by creating a new layer with that icon. You can also select this icon, the stacked lines, and duplicate layer, or create a new layer. Or you can go up to layer and create a new layer. Shift-Command-N on a Mac does that as well. So if I create a new layer here, it creates a new empty layer. What I'm going to do here is go to my image mode here, or my image menu, and select Apply Image. That's going to open up a dialog window. Here under Layer, I want you to make sure this says Merged. Then I also want you to make sure that this says Multiply. So when I select OK, what you can see is it's basically created a snapshot of all the edits here onto that new layer. Right? Now, this in essence has become a stacked image on top that's identical to the edits that I've made. Okay, now what I want to do with this though is I want to duplicate this layer, but instead of duplicating it on this existing document, I want to duplicate it to a whole new document. So if I select OK, notice what happened. Here's our PSD up here. You can delete this now if you'd like, that snapshot, or you can save it as part of this PSD. It'll just increase your file size if you do that. But here we have a totally new independent image that is a snapshot. The layers are flattened and compressed into a single layer, the adjustments that we made in that PSD. But now you still have that same file dimension. So if I go to image and image size, you're still at 4000 by 6000 at 300 for our sample, same image size. Now here you can choose to save now as a JPEG and save that separately if you're feeling at all anxious. You can close this out and say don't save for our PSD, and now we don't run that risk if we don't want of overwriting that PSD file. And here what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to File, and I'm gonna use a preset menu that Photoshop creates to effectively save for web. Okay, so if you'll notice what I just did there, I went File, Export, Save to Web. That's going to open up a new dialog window once my computer catches up, and this is going to encode that image properly for viewing on the web, these images. So here you have a preset. We're going to stick to JPEG for now. These other file formats do something unique. Usually it's for animation or for giving our image transparency, but I don't want you to worry about that right now. I want you to make sure that your quality is at least 80 or above. There's other technical reasons why you would use other quality for this image, but let's go ahead and stick with 80 or above. It's totally fine. I want you to make sure that this dialog that says convert to sRGB is checked, because that's the color space of the web, and we want to make sure that matches. That's a universal color space. Now down here, this is the big question: what dimensions to make this? Now we're using, I'm going to zoom out here so you can see, we're using a vertical image, and when using a vertical image, it's not going to be, it's going to fit onto your screen. Your height is your longest dimension, but it's not going to be the same longest dimension as you would have if it was turned sideways on a screen, because monitors or screens are wider than they are tall, right? So they're formatted to be horizontal or kind of landscape, and not kind of, they are landscape in format. You don't see monitors this way. So just keep in mind that I'm going to talk about this image size in those terms. I'm going to talk about them in terms of vertical and horizontal, and that's going to change our dimensions some. So if we were in that horizontal format, I want you to use your widest dimension as at least 2000 pixels. All right, so if we went into our dialog box and did image size and changed our width with a horizontal image to 2000, it would show you the proportionate height of that image. And that height would be around, for this image, would be around 1300, I believe. And so we're going to stick to assuming that it's roughly 1500, because that's going to help us now define the width that we want to use here on this image, because the width is going to be smaller with a vertical image than it is with a horizontal image, like I just said. Okay, so I know that's a little bit convoluted, but if you can try to just remember some of the presets I'm going to give you for now, it'll hopefully start to make sense as we progress throughout the course. So I'm gonna change that to 1500, and you'll notice that it comes close to our height being 2000. So if you wanted to, you could downgrade this some, and I think that would be fine. If you went to 2000, yeah, it gives you 1333. That would be fine as well. I don't mind either way. And what we're going to do is, you have the option real quick. I'm going to show you, I'm going to preview this on the web. It's going to show you the size of that image on a website. So let me close this out here, and then that's how it is recognized full screen on the web, and you can see it's pretty large, right? So if I back out here, I have to subtract on my or zoom out on my monitor or my web browser in order to see the full image. Now, what is nice about WordPress and the web platform that we're using is that you'll be able to upload this image at this size, and it's going to automatically want to give you the ability to select that image and see it in preview as a full image, and it will compress it, but it will maintain a little bit sharper resolution for us as well. So that's why I'm choosing this kind of slightly larger file size than would maybe be normal. Okay, now this is debatable, so I just want you to keep in mind that these dimensions that I'm using are a bit on the high end and will give us a bit of a larger file size overall, meaning they will load a little bit slower on your website, but it'll be at the expense of making certain that all the different templates that WordPress uses and all the different monitors that are going to be used are going to effectively see your image as quality as we can get. Okay, now, so I'm going to go to save here, and I'm going to make sure that I'm under my web JPEG, and you can title this what you'd like. So if you want to title it the same as the file name, you can, or you can call this, you know, if it's for a certain assignment or it has some title that you'd like, feel free to go ahead and do whatever will help you organize. So if I hit save here, I'm just going to keep it untitled for now. You'll notice that if I go to image and image size here, it hasn't changed. I just exported a copy of that. So I actually need to go to, on my Mac, I need to go find that JPEG. Okay, in this case I did a duplicate because I did another demo or test run, so ignore that please. Now you'll see here's our image at 1333 by 2000. So if I open up this image in Photoshop, let me drag that to Photoshop right there. You'll see if I go to image, image size, there's the 72 as our pixels per inch, 2000 by 1333. Alright, now you do obviously have the ability to shrink that a little bit if you'd like, if you have an idea of what you want, but that's what I'm recommending for right now. Now, one more thing I want you to quickly notice here. Notice how it says the image size is 7.63 megabytes. Okay, that is how Photoshop is reading it, but when it's on your computer and it'll be loaded onto your website, it's going to be actually compressed and much smaller than that. It'll be 1.3 megabytes. Now, this is the image that you're going to then upload onto WordPress, and that's going to be a proper web-sized image. So if I preview this image, it'll look something like that on your screen. Alright? Now, we've ended here with a PSD that we've taken directly to a web JPEG. Alright, now I'm going to just quickly recap all of this so you can see me do it one more time, and then I'm not going to talk much about it while I do it, okay? So I'm going to reopen this PSD, I'm going to close these out so we're not confused. I'm going to create a new layer. Okay. I'm going to image, apply image, merged and multiply. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer. And I'm going to open that duplicate layer in a new document. Then I'm going to go to File, Export, Save for Web. I'm going to make sure it's JPEG, at least 80 in quality, convert to sRGB if it's not already, and then I'm going to change my width here to, actually I'm going to change my height. I'm going to do that 2000. I think that's fine. That's close enough to that 1500. I'm going to then save. I'm going to make sure that lands in my web JPEG folder under our file organization. Okay, so this one I'm going to just overwrite that last one so you can see. And that replaces it. Now remember, this isn't going to be located or saved here. It's going to be something you have to go to that web JPEG file, and this is what you're going to upload to WordPress.